I think it's a really well-made point. I don't know if you agree with me, but during this pandemic, I think around the world we've had apps and contact tracing, and I think that it was interesting because in many countries, even in the middle of the pandemic, and when we were talking about sort of reducing hospitalizations and all of that, still people were talking about privacy and security around this data. And people were still talking about, can COVID data today become something else tomorrow? But also, I think something might have shifted in the public opinion because, to an extent, we now realize that there is nothing more valuable from a collective perspective than a piece of personal information, because it's a fantastic public good, isn't it? If I'm positive to COVID, people need to know because we need to protect each other. So the reason why I'm saying this is privacy. Can privacy become a public good? Can privacy become something positive that really values? You are laughing.
Yeah, because I come from the continent of Ubuntu. Everyone has heard it.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I am because we are.
I am.
And I think the pandemic has proved it. I chose to get vaccinated because I know that other people depend on me, right? And that is why I said the value of data. I went to the UK and guess what, Ivana? The government of the UK trusts its citizens to do lateral tests and report it. I was shocked. In the country I live in, if the government asked me to do a lateral test, I will lie about it because I don't think anybody cares. But I was shocked. I was also in Switzerland at the beginning of lockdown, where the Swiss government said, we recognize that our citizens have made an effort and we are not going to extend the lockdown. And I just want to wrap up by saying that our study at the Web Foundation has shown that the countries who've done better in managing the pandemic with data are those that have existing trust with their citizens.
For sure.
I think you nailed it, which is if you have that trust layer there.
Try again.
Yeah. If you have that trust layer there, you can start doing data sharing for good. Yeah. If you think about NEOM again, right? NEOM's going to build cities that are sustainable, that can stand the test of time. Imagine co-creating this. Imagine designing this. Mm-hmm. Imagine building this with a very high citizen feedback and population, right? The city services, the livability measure will just, go through the roof.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And did you want to add?
Yeah, I think on your question whether privacy can be a public good, I think there's no one answer. Yeah, it depends on cultures. Mm-hmm. So definitely in Europe, privacy is not a public good because there was a huge resistance against contact tracing. They came up with this new technology that is not location but Bluetooth, but then it failed in every country. So the population didn't want to install it. So in order for contact tracing to work, you needed 60% of the population with the app. In no country they came above 20. So, I mean, they didn't get it. Where in other countries, like more in Asian countries, in some countries it did work. And actually they did manage better the crisis. So it depends on the culture where you are, yeah? And,
I agree.
Just to say about trust, we speak a lot about trust, but we shouldn't forget that trust is very hard to build and very easy to break.
Yep.
Yeah? So it's not, we can easily say it once we have trust, but the point is to get there, and that is hard.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things you said, is it depends on the cultures, is true, I agree. One of the reasons why in Europe, there was a lot of discussions around contact tracing and all of that was exactly because of that. The reason was exactly because citizens had in the past seen the misuse of data. Yeah. So they were concerned and what's going to happen. I give my data today, what's going to happen. But interestingly, in Europe, the new Data Governance Act is introducing something called data generosity, which is very similar to the concept, Nana, that you were mentioning, the idea that because you realize that privacy, that there is nothing more public than a piece of personal information in terms of value, then you donate your data for something that is the public good. Really interesting. I wanted to close, we've got a couple of minutes remaining on we've got 120 countries all around the world with privacy laws. From China to India to Saudi to the US, everywhere, privacy is becoming a big topic. And data protection with it, cybersecurity and all of that. And I just wanted to ask you 30 seconds each. What's your prediction in terms of how privacy will evolve in sort of the public understanding, what's your prediction? Where would you like it to, and also, or where would you like it to be?
I think I'll start. I think we have global foundational principles that are in place. I think with the work that Europe's doing, China's doing, US is doing, you have those foundational principles. At the same time, you have this overlap that makes compliance very complex. But I do think that if you build on those foundational principles, you do have clusters of convergence. And I think the key takeaway here is that the regulations have to be flexible enough to promote and balance privacy with innovation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to talk about convergence, just move it further. I think that with the global pandemic and the technology improvement that we've seen, we'd like to, Tim Berners-Lee launched something called Contract for the Web. The UN is proposing something called Global Digital Compact. I think that while we work at national levels, it is now time to look at a global trust mechanism, and that I think is where we'll be going. So digital cooperation, global digital compact, trust at global level.
Yeah, if you look in the future, you can have two big views, yeah? One is privacy is dead, yeah? Get over it, we all know who it said some 10 years ago. Or privacy becomes more user controlled, yeah?
Yes.
And also user monetized. So if you look at the whole Web3 thing, it's all about taking the central things out and give more power to the user. I think, I hope and I believe that is the way where it will go. Privacy by design, think about it up front, think about the users, and global rules would be good, but it's very hard to get there.
Thank you so much. I think we all share that it is important. We really need to invest in this. Hopefully privacy is not dead, but hopefully you are right, and hopefully we will be able to sort of create that global governance around this that we absolutely need in this field. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to a wonderful panel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ivana. Thank you very much.